get a high-level introduction to what Loopback 4 is, you can watch my previous video on why you should be using Loopback 4. For this course, we will be building an identity API. An identity API is an API used to register and authenticate users. I'm demonstrating building an identity API because it's a very common problem many API developers need to solve. It's also a great way to showcase the many features available in Loopback 4. So, let's get started. The first thing we need to do is get our system set up to be able to develop with Loopback 4. So let's go ahead and head over to Loopback 4's website. You can find Loopback 4's website at v4.loopback.io. So Loopback 4 is built on top of a programming language called Typescript. So we're going to need to set up our computer with Typescript. Typescript is a typed superset of JavaScript that compiles to plain JavaScript. Typescript runs on top of a program called Node that it uses to execute the compiled JavaScript. You can get the Nodejs installer for your computer by visiting nodejs.org. I would recommend installing the LTS version, which stands for long-term support. Currently, the LTS version at the time of this recording is 10.14.1. I already have Node installed, version 10.14.1. Once you have Node installed, you can now install Typescript, which you will install through npm. If you're using Linux or Mac, you might need to use sudo to install Typescript so that it can access the admin permissions of the operating system. You will also need to make sure you have a TypeScript compatible text editor. You can find TypeScript compatible text editors by visiting typescriptlang.org. Next, we'll need to make sure that we have TSLint installed. TSLint is the TypeScript linter. We can install TSLint from npm by using a similar command we use to install TypeScript. I would also highly recommend that you have Git installed on your computer so you can version your code. Once you have Node, TypeScript, your text editor, Git, and TSLint installed, we can now go ahead and install the Loopback command line interface. This can also be installed from npm by running this command. You can verify that it is installed by typing lb4 --version in your terminal. To create a new Loopback 4 project, run the command lb4 and then put the name of the project. I'm going to call it identity-API. Please note that you cannot include spaces in the name of the project. For the project description, I'm going to put an identity API built with Loopback 4. For the project root directory, I'm going to leave it the same as the name of the project. And for the application class name, I'm going to again leave it as the default, identity API application. And as far as features to enable, I'm just going to disable VS Code, but leave the rest enabled. The reason I'm disabling VS Code is because I do not like to contain text editor specific configuration in my project. Again, because I personally believe that a project should be set up text editor agnostic. However, I will leave TSLint enabled, Prettier enabled, Mocha enabled, the Loopback build enabled, repositories and services enabled. Loopback 4 will go ahead and generate those files, and then we'll npm install to install all of the dependencies. You can then navigate inside of the Identity API folder and do an ls to list all the files and folders inside of your brand new Loopback 4 project. You can then go ahead and open up this project in your text editor. To set this up with Git, simply type git init. Let's go ahead and test and see if our application works. To test out your application, you'll want to run npm run start. This has spun up a server that is listening on port 3000. As you can see, the API server is giving us this nice, pretty rendered HTML file. We can then go ahead and open up the Explorer, which gives us a Swagger documentation on our API endpoints. Currently, there's only a ping endpoint. Let's go ahead and try it out.